Hi, Nelly from Ordinary People, Saintly Souls, and I continue to read from the visions that Maria Valtorta had, the Italian mystic, of the crucifixion of Jesus. And now I'm at the actual crucifixion and summarizing what really strikes me when I go through these densely written pages describing every detail, and also every physical detail of how Jesus was suffering, which I just don't have time to read all that for you or to summarize that for you. But what really strikes me is that there are so many people gathered at the place of the crucifixion, or a little bit under it, because the place itself is quite narrow, just as if they are watching a spectacle, and it gives them a chance to air out and to hurl insults. And all the way through, they see this man dying on the cross, even if he was an imposter, even if he was someone who had said things that were not true. He was severely wounded, he was dying, that was very clear, and he was suffering. And that doesn't seem to make any impact, neither on the soldiers nor on the people gathering and looking. And actually, they're trying to make his life worse by all the insults and by all the threats. Because at one point, they start to threaten that they also will crucify his followers and that Lazarus will be the first one. So first she sees how the actual crucifixion happens. Again, trigger warning. It's very, very deeply disturbing. There's four men with nails, hammers, and ropes, and all the three victims who are to be crucified have to undress. And the robbers, see it as something to be funny, and they make obscene gestures to the crowd. They're totally naked. And the soldiers give them a rag. Each of them gets a rag that they can tie around their loins, around their groins. And Jesus is wearing a short pair of drawers, but he's not allowed to keep that on. He has to take that off as well. And then Mary gives her veil, her white veil, to Longinus and asks if he can use that to cover himself. And Longinus allows that. And so Jesus turns his back to the spectators, and you see how his back was full of bruises and blisters. And then you can also see how his chest, legs, arms have all been struck by the scourges. And Valtorta describes how at the level of his liver there is a huge bruise, but he is also bruised because of falling and because of carrying the cross. And the crowd scoffs at him, and they say things like, and they kind of almost say it in a chorus, as if they are chanting, "O handsome, the most handsome of sons of man, the daughters of Jerusalem adore you." And then they start to sing or to chant in the tone as if they were chanting a psalm. And it is the reference to the Song of Songs. My beloved is fresh and ruddy, and on it goes. And then that tone moves to pure abuse, and they start to scream, "Leper, leper, so have you fornicated with an idol, if God has struck you so." So now they accuse him of deserving the punishment. "Have you mumbled against the saints of Israel, as Mary of Moses did?" Maybe you remember Mary was struck with leprosy in the Old Testament. "You have been punished so. Oh, the perfect one, are you the Son of God? Certainly not. You are the abortion of Satan. At least he, Mammon, is powerful and strong. You are in rags. You are powerful. You are powerless, not powerful. You are powerless, and you are revolting." So they keep howling and sneering and cursing. And the executioners now have to hammer Jesus' arms or hands and feet to the cross. And to do that, two of them sit on his chest to keep him in place. So then she describes the nails that are very long and sharp and pointed, and hurting his first hand, or hammering his first hand to the cross, hurts Jesus so much that he utters a cry. And Mary, hearing him, replies with a moan, as if she's being tortured herself. And then they, after the right hand, they do the left hand. But the problem is that they can't stretch him enough, so they really pull him out. They pull him out as far as possible. And she comments on by the, by the joints that are becoming dislocated when you do that. And so they have to also make a hole in his hand that is actually wider than what is normal because of the position of his hand. But Jesus no longer cries, he only moans. And the crown falls from his head, and they just slap it back on his head. So then after hammering his feet to the cross, they have to raise the cross, which jerks on the uneven ground, and it shakes, and twice it falls on the ground. Once it crashes and it hurts Jesus' head, and the second time it falls on his arm. Then when it stands, finally it sways in all directions, because remember, the observation is that Jesus was a tall man. He seems to have been taller, and his cross was taller, as Maria Valtorta describes it. The cross sways in all directions, and they fasten it or steady it with stones and earth. But as the cross swings to and fro, the weight of the body moves forward and downwards. I'm going to skip a lot now because it is really gruesome. But all the time Jesus stays silent, and the crowd becomes to scream louder and louder. And the soldiers, as we can read in the Bible, they start to gamble his clothes away, but not just his clothes, also the clothes of the two robbers. And Longinus, he positions himself next to Jesus' cross as if he is a guard of honor. And he watches everything. He keeps an eye on everything. And she observes that the sun is actually strange. She says it's a yellow red like fire, and often disappears behind a cloud. And Longinus detects Mary in the crowd, Saint Mary, Jesus' mother, and he tells one of the soldiers to go and get her so that she can stay under the cross near her son. And John is allowed to come with him because he thinks that John is Mary's son as well. And then the people start to kind of amuse themselves in just going on a kind of roundabout, because Golgotha itself was too narrow, so they go around it, and they just make it kind of a game to walk around the crosses and shout insults. Well, you the savior of mankind, why do you not save yourself? Your king Beelzebub abandoned you? Has he disowned you? Shouts one, and other groups shout, not more than 5 days ago, with the help of the demon, you made the Father say that he would glorify you. Now come, you do not remind him to keep his promise? And three others shout, blasphemer. And he said that he saved the others with the help of God, and he cannot save himself. Do you want us to believe you? Then work a miracle. But you're no longer able. Your hands are now nailed and you're naked. And some say, watch his witchcraft. Some warn the soldiers, saying, watch his witchcraft. You who have taken his garments, He has the infernal sign within himself. And the crowd howls in a chorus, "Descend from the cross and we will believe you. You who want to destroy the temple, fool, look at it over there, the glorious and holy temple of Israel. It is untouchable, O profaner, and you are dying." And other priests say, "Blasphemous, you son of God, come down, save yourself." And the soldiers chime in, "So save yourself, burn to ashes." And then they turn to the people and they say, "Burn to ashes." The priests and their accomplices say, "The arms of women were more pleasant than those of the cross, weren't they?" And others throw stones. So they keep throwing stones. I mean, why? And shouting, "Change these into bread, will you?" And others mimic the hosannas of Palm Sunday and throw branches and shout, "Curses on him who comes in the name of the demon. Cursed be his kingdom, glory to Zion that cuts him of the living." And then one of the leaders stands in front of the cross and raises his hand in an indecent manner, saying, "I entrust you to the God of Sinai." And another one says, "Okay, don't ruin the cross with your strokes of your head, because it is to be used for your followers. A whole legion of them will die on it. I swear it on Jehovah, and Lazarus will be the first one to be put there. We shall see whether you free..." Wait a minute, I need to find my page. "Whether you free him from death now, when you can free Lazarus from death now." Yeah, and then they shout, "Let us go to Lazarus. Let us nail him on the other side of the cross." And then they see Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus, and they go to them and say, "Where's Lazarus? Lazarus, is he at this mansion?" And Mary of Magdalene gets furious. She is a woman who is absolutely fearless. And she jumps at them and she say, "Go, you will already find the soldiers of Rome in the mansion with 500 armed men of the land, and they will castrate you like billy goats." Impudent, is that how you speak to priests, they say. But, you know, Mary of Magdalene used to be a prostitute, and she seems to have slept with some of them, and she insinuates as such. So she refers to them lying on their backs. Then Longinus is sick of it, and he instructs the soldiers to clear the field and to get all those who are insulting the three hanging on the cross, to get them out. And people are going away cursing, but Rome is stronger, so they can't stay. And then we get the scene where the robber on the right hand talks to Jesus. But the first one, the robber on the left hand, he basically summarizes all the curses that he has heard the people say. And he starts to somehow say things like, "Save yourself and save us if you want people to believe you. You, the Christ, you're mad. The world belongs to crafty people and God does not exist. I do. That is true and everything is permitted to me. God, nonsense. Invented to keep us quiet. Long live our egos. Man's ego alone is king and God." But the other robber, he says, "Be silent. Why do you insult him who is good? And his torture is even greater than ours, and he has done nothing wrong." But the robber on the left continues to curse, and Jesus, of course, remains silent, like he tends to do the whole time. His face is terribly swollen. She says it has, you can also see it the way you can see it in the photographs of the Holy Shroud of Turin, with the nose diverged and swollen on one side, and the likeness is increased by the fact that the right eye is almost closed. And so then we get the scene where Jesus promises the robber that he will be with him in paradise, and then Jesus speaks more or less in public and says, "Father, forgive them because they do not know what they are doing." And he turns around and looks at the people around with deep compassion, and he smiles. And then he says to the robber, "I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." So the robber who repents calms down, and he no longer remembers the prayers that he had learned as a child. So he just repeats, "Jesus Nazarene, King of the Jews, have mercy on me. Jesus Nazarene, King of the Jews, I hope in you. Jesus Nazarene, King of the Jews, I believe in your divinity." But the other robber continues cursing. So I'm stopping here with the first part of Jesus on the cross. And in the next video, I will tell you about Jesus' death. This was Nelly, Ordinary People, Saintly Souls. Thank you for being with me.